Good afternoon. I'm Roger Weiss. I'm a Technical Integration Lead in the International Space Station program at NASA Johnson Space Center. I work in the program science office, so we are overseeing all the conception, development, integration, management, communication, collecting results on all the research, science, and technology taking place on Space Station. So we're here today at the CAS conference, of course. We want to educate teachers to educate their students. And we're raising awareness not only of Space Station, but of more particular, the research on Space Station. So we're here, we've got a lot of resources that we're trying to impress upon the teachers and the students, that there are a lot of good types of information and resources that they could take that are either online or take themselves for K through 12. Any age, any kind of science that's taking place. So we try and give them an overview and show them the breadth that any kind of science that they're teaching in any grade, they can bet that there's an experiment that's taking place in some kind of science discipline on Space Station. And we give them an overview of the size and some of the wow factors, how fast it's going around the Earth, and that there's a peaceful collaboration of 15 nations. And we take them over to the model, too. You'll see, give them a little bit more formal display and instruction on where the laboratories are. There's a European laboratory, for example, a Japanese laboratory, the NASA laboratory, and the Russians, and tell them about the power coming from the solar panels that are collecting the sun's energy, and that there's a Soyuz, that's our only taxi, of course, that'll bring the astronauts to and from Space Station. Right now, that's our only transportation means. And there are experiments that are actually taking place outside the Space Station as well as inside. Most of them are inside, of course, and a robotic arm. So there's some fascinating things that they can learn and that they can teach, and that they can also see the Space Station at night. There's one of the resources we do have. It's called spotthestation.nasa.gov. And at that site, someone can actually type in their zip code and learn to the second that the space station will be flying over, and they can see overhead, literally on a clear night or maybe at dusk. And what's great is they can bring out their students, their neighbors, their friends, their families, and say, hey, there are 6 people that are living aboard there. Right now, there are 3 NASA Americans, there are 2 Russians, and 1 European. And they're living, they're working, they're doing science in space, they're exploring. And what's amazing right now, we're calling this the Year of Education in Space, because right now there is an educator on board named Joe Akaba, and he's doing all kinds of science experiments, but with an emphasis in education. When he returns back to Earth, just a couple of weeks later, another educator will be going up. Ricky Arnold's another NASA astronaut. So their colleagues, these science teachers' colleagues, are actually able to fly, and so that's kind of a nice connection for them and inspiration for them to be teaching as well. So we do also have a calendar that we're passing out, 2018 calendar. There's a great software that we've been showing that the people can actually zoom up on the space station, which he is doing right now, and they can see the configuration, the orbit, the magnitude, the size, the different types of external type payloads that are on there that are examining Earth. So why are we doing all this space station science and research? Well, that's what we're pushing. There are benefits to humanity for the bettering of Earth, bettering of life on Earth. But there's also, we're trying to examine the human body, and we're trying to have them learn about how that body behaves in space on long-duration space missions. We want to go back to the moon, but eventually to Mars, which is several months on a one-way trip. So we have to make sure that the human bodies can be preserved in good condition. And if there is an issue, if there is a problem, how to take care of that, how to mitigate that on that mission when we're so far from Earth. So that's a little bit about the space station, and I wanted to let you know that there are some great ways to follow Space Station and the research we're doing. So on the web, this is our main website, www.nasa.gov/ISS-science. It's easy to remember. And from there, you can learn all about the science and opportunities and the benefits to humanity and the experiments, the results, the facilities and capabilities. There's also on Facebook, you can go and follow ISS, and on Instagram and on Twitter, and get all about the ISS research. I want you to know, too, I'm going to grab a card. I'll show you real quick.
realize it's that big.
Right here, we're showing people that there are two apps that you can download for iPads and for phones, iPhones or Androids. And what that is, the first one is called the Space Station Research Explorer. And that is giving you a whole overview of the ISS research taking place, from the experiments you can read about, their descriptions, their benefits for Earth, for space, also all about the facilities and capabilities. The second one is great for teachers and students too, because there's a game. It'll give you a tour of the space station, and you can grow a salad on space in the space station with a fictitious astronaut. Why is that so cool? Because we're actually growing lettuce in space right now. 3 kinds of lettuce, in fact. That's taking place on the Veggie facility, one of the hardware research facilities on the space station. So that's a quick overview of the space station research we're doing, and that there's so many great things and inspirational aspects about research and science on the International Space Station. A peaceful collaboration of 15 nations, and I think you'd appreciate it if you can follow it on social media. And thank you for joining us today.